Promises. Chapter 2. Luke Skywalker studied the look of defiance. Green eyes flashed, and white blonde hair surrounded a stubborn 9-year-old face. Luke's blue eyes didn't falter as he waited for the child to speak. It would not be long. Tahiri was rarely lost for words. Luke thought about the time she and his nephew, Anakin Solo, had snuck away from the Jedi Academy. They'd returned to the Great Temple in the middle of the night. Tired and dirty, Tahiri had immediately begun chattering, trying to take all the blame for the adventure, trying to keep Luke's punishment from extending to Anakin. What Luke hadn't told either of them was that they were two of the most promising students he'd ever seen. There was no way he would expel either student. They would make great Jedi Knights one day, if they could keep out of trouble long enough to learn to use the Force. Trouble seemed to find Tahiri and Anakin. Only last week they had returned bruised and battered from Yavin 8, where they'd gone to help another candidate, a melody named Lyric, survive her changing ceremony. While on Yavin 8, the two candidates had fought giant black rodents, vicious snakes, and a red-bristled spider that trapped its prey in thick black webs and consumed it alive. Luke Skywalker believed that experience was the best teacher in the use of the Force, but Anakin and Tahiri always rushed headlong into dangerous situations. That worried Luke. Still, their ability to use the Force to control, alter, and manipulate the energy field generated by all living things was impressive. "I won't go," Tahiri said defiantly, stamping her bare foot down on the cool stones of the Great Temple. She'd refused to wear shoes since she'd come to Yavin 4. On her home planet Tatooine, gritty sand and a burning hot desert were a daily reality, and foot coverings a necessity. "You won't make me go," Tahiri said again, although this time her voice faltered. "You're right," Luke replied. He moved to the large open window in the grand audience chamber. Beneath him, the lush jungles of Yavin 4 steamed in the midday sun. Majestic Masasi trees, their bark a rich purplish brown, reached up toward the pyramid-shaped Great Temple. The temple was the home of future Jedi Knights, beings from across the galaxy who studied at the Academy in order to one day use the Force for peace and knowledge, and in the battle against evil. Tahiri walked over to Master Luke and stood beside his brown-robed form. She stared down at the jungle, at the greens, purples, and reds that made up a landscape she'd once dreamed of in the heat and endless sand of her planet. Luke Skywalker understood Tahiri's frustration. He, too, was originally from Tatooine. He'd spent 18 years working on his uncle and aunt's moisture farm. The boredom had threatened to suffocate him. But there had been something else, too. "I never knew my father," Master Luke said softly to his student. "At least not the man he was before he turned to the dark side to serve the evil Emperor Palpatine. I never knew my father, Anakin Skywalker, when he was a Jedi Knight, determined to use the Force for good. And when I finally met what he'd become, Darth Vader, it was too late. It's true that he did turn from evil in his last moments, but there wasn't time for us to develop a relationship before he died." Luke paused for a moment. "Do you understand what I'm saying to you?" he asked Tahiri. "You were an orphan in a way too," Tahiri began slowly. "But the difference is that I won't ever have the chance to meet either of my parents. The Tusken Raiders said they're both dead." "What about Sliven?" Luke Skywalker asked. "He's the leader of my tribe," Tahiri answered evenly. "Nothing more?" Luke asked. "I guess he's the only family I'll ever have," Tahiri replied softly. "Returning to Tatooine may be the last chance I'll have to see him." "You owe that to yourself and to him," Master Luke said. "Still, it's your decision. I'm certain you'll make the right one." He turned and strode out of the chamber. "It's not so simple, little one," he thought as he left. "Not so easy to give up the only family, the only father you've ever known. That in itself will test all of your power and your ability to control your own inner force. And perhaps, just perhaps, your decision to remain at the Academy will change. If that happens, we'll lose a promising student. But as much as this would disturb me, your happiness is more important." Luke took the turbo lift down to the hangar. He found the supply ship captain, old Peckham. Peckham had just unloaded crates for the Academy. Now he was preparing to take a delivery to a planet only hours from Tatooine. Luke asked Peckham to prepare his ship for a detour to Tatooine the following morning. When Peckham asked how many passengers, Luke didn't hesitate. 3, he replied. There was no way Tahiri would travel home without her best friend, Anakin Solo. And no way that Luke would allow them to go alone. Tatooine was too dangerous a planet. and Luke had a strange feeling that Tahiri's family, the Tusken Raiders, were dangerous as well.